Hi.
Whoa.
He's not ready.
I'm ready. Sorry.
False start, delay a game.
Pre-snap penalty.
Yeah, for sure. Discipline.
Discipline. You're right. Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. When you talked about the depth chart changes, how much of your original plan in terms of snap counts for players originally have changed since that preseason game?
Not much. A few guys played a little bit more. So again, like I told you guys yesterday, there's always okay, what's the total number that we want for a guy? And there's a range, Calvin, that you're looking at. Okay, hey, it's 30 to 40, it's whatever, it's unlimited. So based on, not much, but based on the fact that a few guys played a little bit more than we thought they would last game, those numbers will get adjusted. And a few guys that played a little bit less, most of those guys were offensive because of the limited ops, they'll play a little bit more.
Those guys, how many of those guys have you said, I need to look at them a little bit more against Baltimore?
It's a big part of it, just because you're trying to, we want to make the right decision, and we will. We'll make the right decision come cut down day, and to do that, you have to have all the information. So we'll have a staff meeting tonight to kind of finalize some of that stuff and get a feel for, okay, hey, this guy's doing good. But like yesterday, again, with the mocks and stuff, we moved a number of guys into different spots, both up and down, and all that's always communicated to them. Hey, you're doing good, so you're getting more reps with the ones, and hey, you got to pick it up a little bit. You're moving down a spot.
DLL Cowboys. Can you give us a housekeeping thing on injury updates? Is Blue going to be back? Sanders going to be back?
Yeah, like I said yesterday, Clarence, I think most of those guys are trending in the right direction. We'll find out a little bit today. Today should be a really good practice, a chance to see some of those guys bounce back, just all the guys that are trending in the right direction. But again, until we see how today goes and how they look, we won't really know. Got a couple days to make that decision.
A couple days left. You worry about guys looking to go home, and do you up the ante this week, your 2 physical practices, so they won't be getting excited about going home? Because it's been a long time. They've been there since July 20th.
Yeah. Well, it really wasn't nearly as long as last year. Last year felt like an eternity. You guys were here. But no, I started the meeting off of that. We need to be present. We need to stay in the moment. We're going to have 2 physical practices, both in pads today, hour 45 today, 2 hours tomorrow. And, are there distractions about going home? Yeah, probably. But leave that at the door. Leave that, in your room. And when you're here, you're doing football, and we got a lot of work to do. And I think the best teams in the league, they maximize these opportunities, these weeks leading up to preseason game 2. You've played a game. You've made some adjustments from personnel standpoint, and now you need to go do it during the week of practice.
Brian Schottenheimer for the ESPN. We noticed Dak last week, or a week and a half ago, kind of race CD down the field after one play, and really carrying out his fakes more to kind of get some sprint work in. Is that by design as he's coming back from this hamstring deal?
Yeah, it's really got nothing to do with the hamstring. It's just getting some of his top speeds. Quarterbacks, they don't run like some of the other guys do. Everything is tracked, Todd. Everything catapult. Just the power, the movements, the steps, the distance, the speeds, all that stuff is measured. So it's more about just him getting to top speed, because as a quarterback, you're not getting to top speed in practice as much as you would in the game when you're moved off the spot. So completely by design, and, Britt and, Braylon and those guys do a hell of a job with us with the catapult system and tracking everybody's data.
Where do you come down on Dak running? Is there he has to do some of it, but maybe not?
Yeah, Dak's got to be able to run. I mean, quarterbacks run in this league. That's what they do. And, again, are we going to come out first play of the season against Philadelphia and run power read with the quarterback? No, probably not. Sorry about that. It's not happening, Vic. But at the end of the day, yeah, he's got to move. He's got to make plays. He's got to extend plays. Can we run him? Sure. We'll run him. He's a good athlete. He has to be smart getting down. Hey, if he's in danger, slide, get down. And that's what all the great ones do.
I swear this isn't related to what I just asked, but you're one of 19 teams that didn't do the tush push last year. Why doesn't every team do it if there's such a high success rate?
Again, I think, it's like everything. You have a philosophy of what you believe in. It's obviously a great play. We have different ways of what I would say attacking the A gaps and things like that. But it's an investment. And I think the Bills and the Eagles do it better than anybody else, and it's what they believe in. And, I think at the end of the day, it's a good football play that they've perfected in a lot of ways. And we have some plays that we feel like we've perfected that are different than that.
Can you give us any update on
Yeah, he's doing good. He's getting some reps, and just the mock stuff, the slow speed stuff, because he needs that mentally to kind of stay prepared and things like that. But I think he's doing well. Again, not putting a timeline on it, but I've been very pleased with what I've seen from him and the intensity that he's attacking the rehab and the way he's working and is not normal for a second-year player. So I'm very proud of him for that.
Just kind of what's your vision, I guess, and thoughts on what this offensive line can be going forward? You obviously invested 3 first-round picks in it, so obviously you think it needs to, get better.
Well, I think, it's the catalyst for an offense on every team. I mean, it really is. You look at the best teams in football, and usually their offensive lines are very physical. They set the intensity and the mindset of the offense. And there's a part of staying healthy. That's a big part of it. You need to stay healthy. But we have the makings of being a really good offensive line. We really do. We just have to maximize these next couple weeks and get ready. And but I think the mindset that we're trying to build and the physicality we're trying to play with and the way we cover down and finish. And, one of the things we corrected our guys on the other day was, picking guys up off the ground and, pushing the pile. But, go pick up your brother, man. Go pick him up. Guys on the ground, let's fill him off or whatever, and 3 guys are standing there looking at him, then that's not right, So go pick him up, cover down. And it's a mindset.
Nick Harris, Forward Star Telegram. Been here about 3.5 weeks, and I know you've had a couple of camps out here in Oxnard, but can you just talk about the functionality of this place and how it works for you guys to be able to come out here every year?
Yeah, it's the best. Just the location of it, the fact it's all so close, Nick. I mean, you can literally go from meetings to walkthroughs to workouts to, to lunch to get, a nap or something. I mean, the functionality of it is amazing. The fields have been great. The fans have been great. I just think it's very, very seamless for us. And, again, they continue to do an awesome job. They roll out the red carpet for us here, and they take good care of us. And our guys are very respectful to the staff here at the resort. And it's just a great relationship.
Question. Schoonmaker, what did you see him do over the offseason? How has that been applied here at camp? And then do you have an update on Spain?
Yeah. With Scooney, I mean, again, I think I've talked multiple times about his confidence. He came back and his body was ready. Some of the training and the things that he did during the offseason, actually the break, really, to get ready for the offseason program was awesome. He was around a lot more than he was in years past, just working out with our guys and, spending time with Britt Brown and those guys. But, I think, he's having a great camp. And, again, one of those guys that we expect to have a big year for us in our tight end sets. And then Brev's doing good. I mean, he's progressing nicely. He's, able to walk around and get up on his toes some. So that's all positive stuff.
Tommy Yarsh, DallasCowboys.com. Talk a little bit about Trayshawn Holden, what you guys are receiving on Saturday. How's he used kind of his connection with junior in college to maybe translate here so far for camp?
Well, it's his birthday, number 1. So let's start with that. He's 24 today. So happy birthday, Trayshawn. I already said that in the meeting, but you can hear it again. The relationship with Junior's been important. That's why he's here, because the relationship with Junior. But he's the guy that, again, each and every day he is, been able to move into different spots. And if we need a guy to go to X, he can go to X. If we need a guy to move to Z, he can go to Z. Hey, we need you in the slot, he can do that. And so the instincts and the intelligence that we talk about with that is great. But also he's kind of he's a gamer, man. He loves to compete. He loves to play the game, and he finds a way of getting open. And again, is that instincts? It's not just good luck. I mean, there's instincts, there's route running skills that he has. But I do think that, the relationship with Junior has made him very comfortable in the beginning. So his focus can be more on, okay, I got to learn the system and what we're doing.
Joe White, Dallas Morning News. We've asked about a lot of positions. One position I feel like we haven't asked you a lot of safety. Donovan Wilson and Lee Hooker, what have you seen from them? And as you have questions in the other parts of your secondary, how important is it going to be for them to have success?
Well, the communication from the safeties is critical. So both Dono and Malik are having great camps. They have really done a great job of not just buying in, but learning Flus's system. And, again, take a moment to just really tell you how impressed I am with, Andre Curtis. I was with him in Seattle. The guy's an unbelievable human being first, but a great coach, and so he coaches those guys the right way. He's very demanding. He's got a great relationship with those guys. I think they trust him, they believe him. But the communication jumps off the tape when you hear him out there in practice. I think, Malik, for the first 2 weeks, was really flying around and hitting people. Like, had a couple big plays. Donovan was a guy we were kind of ramping up a little bit, but those are both guys that have great experience. Now what we need to do is figure out kind of the guys behind them and, how Marquise is doing and Wanye and some of the young guys, Clark and Mike Smith. So both guys having a great camp, as you would expect from veterans that are really good football players.
As a head coach, you got to worry about a lot. This is an assumption, but is it a luxury not to worry about the special teams unit and Brandon Aubrey and Brian Anger and Trent Sieg, just how consistent they've been the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think so. Plus I just love the guys. I mean, just their DNA, the way they're made up, the way they work together, the way they just, that was a big part of it in the offseason. When we were going into the offseason, we were looking at goals and, okay, hey, making moves and what do we want to do? Keeping those three guys, I think, was something that we identified early that would be great for our football team. Not for me, per se, as a first-time head coach, but just for our football team. They're all very, very talented. They're very good. But, again, that connectivity, that relationship that they have is very seamless.
Cowboys Radio 105.3. The fan you mentioned earlier, some guys played more snaps than you had in mind the other night. Pretty good imbalance between Thomas and Richards and the number of snaps they played. A, was that by design, and B, how would you evaluate both?
I think Nate played very, very well. You see the confidence that he's gaining with his punch, Brad, how he's setting people aggressively and just the physicality that he brings. Awesome's a guy, another guy that, again, outside the two penalties, you had the two alignment penalties back-to-back. Those can't happen, those self-inflicted wounds. But what you love about Awesome, man, is he's just got the flexibility. He plays tackle, he plays guard. We can move him on the right. We can put him inside. He's an emergency center. He's emergency. But he's got that flexibility, which you love. And so both guys are working hard, and this will be a big week for both those guys.
Was the snap disparity by design?
It was just because Awesome could play more guard. That's why.
Brad Townsend, Dallas Morning News. Spoken to some of Pickens' high school and college coaches, and they made the point that he wanted to be coached. And I wonder if you share that assessment, and what's been the most striking part about coaching him this first couple of months?
Yeah, number one, I would agree with that. I think, from the time that we got George and we went into my office and spent some time together and shot some free throws and just talked and got to know each other, he made that very clear. He's like, Coach, I'm thrilled to be here, number one. I want to be coached. I want to be, I want to be great. I want to be a great player. I want to continue to be great. And so, lean into me, be tough on me, tell me the things I need to do. And so, again, the way I am, Brad, is I start with the relationship piece of it, and because I think you can coach people hard and coach them the right way when you have those relationships. But that doesn't surprise me. He's been nothing but incredible in terms of the way he's worked with us, the way he's communicated with us. And I talk about it all the time, but the relationship that he and CD have is special. And Junior Adams has done an amazing job of building the culture of his room, and that's something to be talked about. Because, there's certain rooms where it's like you got personalities and people like, superstars. It's like sometimes they don't always get along. It happens in quarterback room. It happens in defensive line rooms. It happens in a lot of rooms. But Junior's built an amazing culture in that room where guys really just want to win and have success, and they don't really care who gets the credit.
Coach Michelle Montaigne, WFAA. What have you seen Solomon Thomas bring to the locker room? Maybe one of your stories of something that we can't see.
I'd say leadership. Here's a guy that's been around for a long time, seen a lot, been on different teams. He sees what we're trying to build here and the positives of what we're trying to do from the culture and the connection piece and the compete every day, all those different things. But he's a consistent guy, man. And, he's not always the most vocal person in the world, but the way he practices is incredible. I mean, his numbers, when you look at the catapult, like we were talking about earlier, every day it's the highest, on the team for the most part, in top 3 or 4 for sure. So just that work ethic, the way he runs. And I remember White Cotton, saying to me before we finalized the deal for him, he said, you will never be around a guy that practices as hard as Solomon does. And early on in the offseason program, it was very, very evident. And then, I think we had a moment in the offseason where we asked him to share his story, his foundation, and what he's been through. And it was, you could have heard a pin drop. And it was awesome to see this incredible athlete, great player, great man share and be vulnerable with his teammates.
Brian Aldridge, CBS News Texas. Going back to OTAs to now to camp, you could see the energy at practice just feels different, the tempo from beginning to end. You talked about the excitement you're trying to bring. I know it's only one preseason game in, but did you see any of that translate to the field, even talking about some of the veterans who didn't play?
Yeah, I think when you look at the film, you see the guys getting excited for the guys playing between the white lines. Like, they want these guys to have success. They want to lean into these guys. I mean, Trayvon Diggs was into it. I mean, he was coaching, some of the young corners and talking to them. Like, that's what we want. I think if you build the brotherhood the right way, they should care. They should care how their teammates are doing and not over there just kind of hanging out on the bench and not caring. They want to see them have success. They want to see them do well because why? They're invested. They're invested in the locker room. They're invested in the weight room. They're invested out there on the practice field. So I was very, very pleased with that group. And the best teachers in this game are players. I see myself as an elite teacher, but, I don't play the game. The guys that play the game in between the white lines, there's things that they can, give to our younger players that are as impactful or more impactful than some of the things that I say. And they're crazy if they don't use that. And our young players are stupid, in my opinion, if they don't ask for that.
You've committed to Eric Wycott quite a bit. Do you think he has DC potential in this league?
Absolutely. I think, again, another guy, and all of our coaches are great. I'm not, again, I just talked about Junior because I was asked about George, but another guy that's done an incredible job of creating a culture, a close-knit, special bond in that room. He's tough as nails. He's a guy you don't want to cross. The players definitely understand that we got a lot of alphas in that room, but if you close the door and you're going to let one come out, A-Dub might cheat to get out, but he would probably be the one that might come out. And I say that respectfully to everybody in there. But he's a grown-ass man. And I think his knowledge of the game, the way that we play the front, but he understands the big picture. He understands, the whole defense and how the run fits tie together with the safeties in the secondary and understands pass coverages and things like that. So the answer is 100%.
You talk very highly of your assistant coaches, and rightfully so, but you don't have an assistant head coach. Why not?
That's a great question. I can't believe nobody's asked me that. To me, at the end of the day, I think, I want to lean on all my coaches, one. I've obviously got an inner circle of people that I talk to a lot, but I'm not real big on titles. I think titles should be earned and not given, and this is year one. And so will we have an assistant head coach next year? Maybe. But I do think that sometimes, and we're all guilty of this, we've all done it, but sometimes you use titles to get guys out of contracts and things like that. You try to. It doesn't usually work. But my belief is that titles, if someone's named the assistant head coach, they should have earned that, and they should truly be that. Whereas, okay, if I have a question on anything, I'm going to it. But it's more of a team of people now that I use, and it's not always position coaches because they're pretty busy. It's more coordinators and things like that. But I was asked by many guys when I was interviewing them, hey, well, what about a potential title? And I was honest with all of them. I said, yeah, I'm not saying no forever, but I am saying no now. And that's just because of my belief.
As a caller before you got here, who was the guy on the staff that said, maybe it was the head coach that said, hey, I don't think we should do that? So now, as a head coach, play caller, who is that guy for you in a sense?
You talking about the assistant head coach?
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand the question. Ask the question again.
In your space right now, who's the coach that says, hey, Shotty, you can't call that right now. Hey, coach, we need a timeout.
Well, yeah, I lean on Ryan Feeder a ton. Feeder's the game management expert. Clayton Adams, the coordinator. I mean, I don't think these guys are afraid of me. I think they know I have a temper, so they know how to approach me the right way. But, yeah, I think we've built a staff, Calvin, guys are willing to hold everybody accountable, including myself. I want to be held accountable. I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to step up in front of the team and step up in front of you guys and admit, hey, I made a mistake, and I have no problem with that. And if I'm judged on one mistake, then so be it. But I think we've built a staff that I don't want yes men. I can't think of one member of our staff that's a yes man. I think they will challenge me. They will challenge – because if they can't challenge me, then how can I count on the fact they're going to challenge their players? You know, I mean, you're talking about players that are making $30, $40, $50 million, you know. So if they can't hold their head coach accountable, then why would I trust that they can do that? So that was part of the deal with when we went through the hiring process.
Real quickly, your inner circle confidants, who are those?
I'm not going to share that with you just because it changes, you know, a little bit. And I'm not, again, I don't want to separate, you know, and say, okay, these are the only guys I talk to. So respectfully, I appreciate you asking the question, and it does change, you know, but so if it's here's what I'll say without naming names. It's different for different things. If it's a discipline issue, I might go to a couple different guys. If it's something game management guys, I might go to a couple different guys. If it's something offensively, you know, and then sometimes I go to, you know, Jerry and Steven or Todd Williams or people like that. So it's not just, I make it sound like we have this little 4-person deal that we go sit in my office, we close the door, and no one's welcome. It's not that. It's really, because I have so much energy, I'm usually moving from office to office, and I'll be sitting here, and I'll be like, you know, hey, Clarence, get over here, you know, and then I'll bring 3 or 4 guys in and be, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Because the way I make decisions is I talk. Shocker, you guys know I like to talk, but like the way I make decisions is by talking. So if I talk out loud normally and I listen to people, it makes it very crystal clear for me of what I want. Okay, hey, all right, great, I've got everybody's input. Anything else? Okay, here's what we're going to do.
Inside and outside organization.
Absolutely. Yep. Good question.
All righty.
Thank you, guys.